Watching real-time drawing videos can be really helpful when we learn to draw because it gives an idea of not just the marks but the thinking time. The pauses often teach us as much about process as the actual time spent drawing. I decided that I'd do a quick 10-minute drawing where the actual drawing time was restricted to 10 minutes, and therefore it was going to be a fairly quick gestural drawing, but one where you could see exactly how much time it took me to put the marks on the paper and also allow time for thinking as well, and which marks happened quickly and which ones happened slowly, because that's another important thing. Not every mark is put on our paper, not every line or mark is put on our paper with the same speed and care, because some of them we can position more confidently, more easily, and so they end up being faster. But there was a time pressure on me. I really wanted to keep this drawing of this really quite picturesque from our point of view structure, but was actually a guard tower in the penal colony of Port Arthur in Tasmania. So the thing I worked on at first was to try and get the proportions of this doorway correct. That was going to be my starting point and my reference point for everything else. I thought it was easier to get the entranceway correct than to try and draw the box around it and then put the archway into it, because it was relatively narrow and tall. And there is also the optical illusion that it appears narrower than it really is because of the darker shadow, which doesn't go right the way across, and it creates a thinner, darker shape within the doorway. But at any rate, with a quick sketch, we're not going to agonize too much. But once I got that doorway in place, then I positioned the bottom of the pediment, and then I could draw the pediment across the width. Perhaps not quite as well on the right-hand side corner of that pediment as I would have liked, but never mind, it is a quick sketch. So the line I've done there is the line of that protruding cornice under the castellations. And you can see how in my thinking I was doing the line, the curve, just to the wall edges, and then I went further to do where it overhung and where it was also affected by the angle, by the perspective. Now there's one course of stonework above that where the castellations end, so I decided to put a light line in to represent that, and then I could now do the line for the top of the castellations. So this is actually this upper part, a framing line, and now I'm just aligning where that centermost front-on castellation is in relation to what's underneath. So clearly I'm drawing this larger than my reference. I'm using a 0.2 millimeter pen for this, I think, unless I turn the pen around and you see 0.3 on the barrel. That's what I'm using. The tape is there, not for any technical special reason, except to indicate this pen has lots of ink in it and I can pick it up and draw with it. When it starts to run out, I'll take the tape off and use it when I want a pen that has less ink inside of it. Now, I'm not worrying too much about hatching in this drawing. I just did a little bit of hatching though there to indicate the sides of the castellations where they're catching the shadow, because it is a nice way of helping to define 3 dimensions. So I did take a fair bit of care, if I think of a 10-minute sketch time frame, to try and do the castellations as accurately as possible, since there weren't that many, and being in a curve, getting the foreshortening as they curve away from us correct is an important part of capturing the sense of roundness of this. Now the top of that, the very top of that tower silhouette edge isn't quite as symmetrically round as I would have liked, But these are the compromises we make when we're just trying to do a quick sketch. And I think a quick sketch with a pen is still sometimes slightly slower than a quick sketch in pencil. Now we have these brackets decoratively holding up the overhanging corner section above. And at some point I noticed that the brackets are actually under the center of the castellations and centered under the gap between. So that helped me position them down the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I must admit I didn't worry so much about this same level of exactitude. I think I was starting to get a bit worried about my time, but this is probably the last of the really fiddly detail. The other things can be positioned more accurately because this is a relatively straightforward subject, particularly now that that upper part's done. And look, if you're finding this helpful and interesting, please, can you hit the like button right now? Because that would help me. And I'd love your comments as well. Comments also do help the creator of the video. So I certainly would welcome your thoughts or even just your intentions, whether you're going to try and draw this, or if you do try and draw this, how it goes for you. I'll post this photo reference, of course, on my channel community page. Why not set an alarm for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and see how far you can get? Now, I do want to indicate the stonework in this with these lines I'm doing now, but I don't want the stonework to overwhelm the visual appearance of the overall structure, because that's what we see. And if I was going to spend just a little bit more time on this, what I would do would be to strengthen the overall outlines of the building, and that would have the effect of lightening the visual impact of the lines to indicate coursework. Now I need to do this detail that we have in the doorway, and hopefully this will visually bring the proportions of my doorway more obviously in line with what we have in the reference. There are quite a few places I could have done some fairly subtle gradations of value with my hatching here if this drawing was going to take me slightly longer. However, part of the joy of a very quick sketch is that we don't get bogged down in things, and we have to make some quick decisions and move on. And the entire drawing can lack that tight precision that a more carefully worked out drawing can have, but that in itself, I think, creates its own sort of visual interest. So remember, this is real time. This is the time it took me to do it. I've not edited anything out of this, and if I edit the odd repeated word out of it, I'm not going to tighten the speed up the speed of the video. So now we have this, just the final parts really, a bit of framing, a bit of context. I like these fences, the way they lead the eye, they lead us to the guardhouse. I think they have a visually, from a compositional point of view, very interesting and effective impact on what we see and how we see it. Now, it's just about 10 minutes now. It's getting pretty close. And I do still want to draw a bit of what's on each side. But I really am wanting to stick to the 10 minutes, so let's just see what I can get in place. I'm hoping I can suggest that tree on the right-hand side as well. Fortunately, suggesting trees quickly has become a bit of a thing for me of late, so I'm hoping I can manage it. Don't do the best job on this further ridgeline, covered in trees, so therefore it has a darker value. So I just reaffirm that edge on the left-hand side just to make it stand forward a little of those trees that I've just drawn. And now I'm in the last moments of my time, and I'm just doing one of the quickest trees you'll see me draw, but I think it still reads as a tree, and that's the important thing, that we have a sense of what it is. What do you think? G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. Look, this was a lot of fun for me. It wasn't the video I intended to do right now, but we have to go out for lunch shortly, so I thought I'll just do something really quick and see how that goes. So I hope you found this interesting. If you have, that's great. If you'd like more like this, please tell me in the comments, because I certainly could do more 10-minute real-time drawings. But look, whatever you draw, however you draw it, however long it takes you to draw it, make sure you have fun. And I certainly did this time. I'll see you next time. Bye.